the news like students cramming for final that has been round the clock labor for
Northridge this morning better have
California
a new
State
school
University at Northridge
The cleanup in Los Angeles. Students have returned to a college campus that was severely damaged by last
the
month's
damage
quake,
figures at
but
Cal
the
State
classrooms
Northridge do
are not
hold,
quite what
this
they
would be the
used to
biggest damage loss sustained by any American institution of higher learning since some of them were damaged back in the Civil War.
The earthquake changed a lot of lives, obviously. I remember the first time when the earthquake hit where I live, there is damages all around Los Angeles, but when I drove up to the campus within a couple of days after the earthquake, and to see the damage in Northridge, the city of Northridge, and in particular on this campus, that was quite shocking.
The floor moves and all of a sudden, oh, earthquake, earthquake. But this earthquake was going this way, and then this way, and then this way, moving all different directions. The earthquake was also so bad, you know, it made the Northridge Meadow apartment 3-story building, everybody's heard about this, pancake to a 2-story building.
On Reseda, there was the famous apartment complex where some students lived and even some faculty lived that was kind of, it was a metaphor for this earthquake or whatever, because the 3rd floor was the 1st floor, and you could drive past that and see that. And that was shocking to see that. And there were people that lived on the 3rd floor. When it collapsed, they could just walk off their balcony outside.
So I was actually thrown around like crazy. The floor was like a roller coaster type of thing. So every time I jumped out of bed and I stepped on the floor, I was thrown. I was like doing a circus act flying in the air. All the neighbors were standing on the street, listening to the radio. And then at some point we heard a loud explosion and we looked over, I guess from where we were west, and there was a gas line that it ruptured up here on Balboa. It just kaboom, it's like what you see in a war zone or something, big flames shoot up and stuff. The South Library that was on one end of the lot and a fine arts building that took up the rest of the lot. And those both were so, they couldn't fix them after the earthquake. They had just tore them down.
Okay, this is room 123. We've got cabinets that have moved away from the wall.
We had to figure out, in some cases, there were faculty, not only in our department, but around the campus, that couldn't get to their notes. They were in buildings that they weren't allowed in ever again. There were notes that were lost. I was in, which is now called Cypress Hall, my personal office, which is the music building. And we were allowed in with emergency personnel with hard hats, and we had to put on a hard hat, and we were allowed in that building to retrieve stuff out of our office, which is another story. When I went into the office to see the damage in the office, had I been sitting there, I would have probably been hurt or dead, because the bookcase in there with tons of books, a steel bookcase, was over on my chair and the desk. So it was thrown over there, which means, and things from the ceiling were fallen, including the lighting system. So if I was sitting in there, I'd have been hurt, if not killed. Also, there were aftershocks. So all that year there were aftershocks. So while you're teaching, and those trailers would bop. The trailers would bop and move around, so everybody would get scared. So interesting place and time.
When I was on one of the video crews here, and there was like 4 crews working in different parts of the campus, and I was closest to the famous parking lot C, the one that bent over. I was over there in that area, and when the trimmer came, they told us get out of the buildings. We all go out of the buildings, and all of a sudden you could hear something flying by you like bullets. Pew, pew. What's that? And it was that pieces of that parking structure flying by us like bullets. And so I was thinking it's probably safer for me to stay inside the building than to be out here close to them flying objects.
After the earthquake, we had $300 million worth of loss on this campus. That's a lot. What they gained were a bunch of new buildings. I mean, the building that we're in now, Manzanita Hall, was constructed in, I think, we moved into this building in 2021. So from the earthquake in '94, we were in trailers for a while, for a few years, I think. And then I think, if I recall, we went back to Nordhoff Hall for our department. But there was a building here called the Fine Arts Building that they kept it standing, trying to figure out if it would stand. So for a few years, the Fine Arts Building stood with nothing in it. And then eventually it was decided it can't stand. They're gonna have to tear it down. It's not safe enough. And it wasn't a very old building, really wasn't. So that building was torn down, and then this building, Manzanita Hall, was built. So not only did we get a new building, but other departments across the campus got new buildings. The University Hall, which is now called Valera Hall, where all the administrators are, the president, the vice presidents, that was a result of the earthquake. That building did not exist. Baramian Hall, which still exists, they had to retrofit that and fix it up, but that's where student services are. That was there, but it was inhabited for a while till they got it back up to par. But there were new buildings around the campus that were built as a result of the earthquake. So it revitalized the campus physically. It revitalized the campus.
Generally, for the whole campus, I think the infrastructure is better for heating and air conditioning. The telephone systems, it's just everything. Now we've got a lot of places that have Wi-Fi connected to the building on the outside, so students can, as they're going through campus, can be on their phone, their laptops, whatever, all across the campus.
And I got a chance at that time to shake the president's hand.
You are now the symbol of the ability of the people of this state to keep coming back after adversity upon adversity, as well as the symbol of California and America's future, because of the educational opportunities open to all kinds of people from all walks of life and all different backgrounds here at this fine institution. The most damaging earthquake ever recorded on our continent destroyed a great deal here when it hit a year ago, but as the mayor said, even though it shook you, it didn't break you. It didn't break your faith in the future. You are not alone. We will work with you to help you reclaim your lives as the earthquake victims have been reclaiming theirs. Who would have thought a year ago that the highways and bridges could be rebuilt and reinforced in just a fraction of the time the experts had predicted and the time the law allowed until we changed the way things worked?
I think Northridge and CSUN has its own little community, and even our campus is a little bit different than the other Cal State universities. We're different than Cal State LA. We're much different than Long Beach. We're much different than Dominguez Hills. We're much different than San Francisco State. CSUN has its own little place in the university system, and it has its own little place in Los Angeles as well. You know, I think the newer students here, it's about anything in life, you need to know the history before you move forward. That's even your own families. You know the history of your families before you move forward. So I think for students, they need to know the history of the earthquake and its effect on the campus as they move forward, because it also puts CSUN in history.
Called this part of America Hope's native home. It was built by people he called, and I quote, the stickers, not just those who pillage and run, but those who settle and love the life they have made and the place they have made it in. Today, we salute all of you, the stickers, the settlers, the rebuilders of this great state. Let us take what you have done here and use it as a model for our entire beloved country into the 21st century.